with a back cut pass to Curry, who goes baseline, easy reverse, or at least he makes it look so easy to make it 52-44. 8-point quarter, 14-point half for Steph Curry.
It's time for Warriors Wrap-Up. We'll bring you into the locker room and hear from Coach Kerr and the players. Highlights from the game. Warriors Wrap-Up starts now.
A happy Festivus to all. That is what the Golden State Warriors wished us tonight here on December 23rd, couple of days before Christmas, as they complete and secure a perfect 5-game homestand by putting away the Portland Trailblazers at Chase Center tonight. Final score 126-106. The Warriors are a game above 500 for the first time since the middle of November. They complete just their second perfect homestand of 5 games or more since 2014-15, and they have won, going back a few weeks now, 8 in a row at Chase Center. Evan Giddings with you on Warriors Wrap-Up. Appreciate you tuning in. Feel free to call in at 888-957-9570. Also the number for the Comcast Business Text line. Thanks for chiming in on YouTube as well as Twitch. This was another kind of equation-tight game for the Warriors in which they absolutely rolled. I mean, a 20-point win against Portland. I know they came out a little bit sloppy in the first quarter. 9 first-quarter turnovers leading to a 7-point Portland lead. They eventually flipped the script in the second quarter by going down from as many as 11 to up 11 at the break, and then they cruise in the second half again to a 20-point victory. So I thought this was a great game for the Warriors that really put a bow on what has been I don't know about season flipping, but certainly turning point in their season, right? Because you came into the homestand 4 games below 500. There were questions about where this season's going, if you're going to have to move some players, if you're going to have to demote some players. Steve Kerr's wondering about Draymond Green and his indefinite suspension, and he did have some spicy comments before the game that I do want to get into. But players weren't playing in their proper positions. Roles were in flux. And now, 5 games later, in just a week, mind you, because it was 7 days ago that the Golden State Warriors were able to eke out a 4-point win against the Brooklyn Nets. And 7 days later, they're at a point where they're putting away Portland by 20 points. And essentially, in back-to-back games, giving Stephen Curry garbage time rest. I mean, this was a game in which the Splash Brothers, I thought, were fantastic. Again, to me, the 55 points, 6 threes from Klay Thompson, another 28-point performance for Klay, who has been shooting the hell out of the basketball as of late, supplemented by what Curry continues to do, reading the defense. You knew he wasn't going to miss a 3 this time, because against Portland on Sunday, did not make a single 3-pointer. He came out and made a 3 in the first 40 seconds against the Trailblazers, and he ends up with 27, and then the young guys with what they're able to help the old guys do in this game, which is put away a team that they should and definitively beat an opponent that they are better than, and that is the Portland Trailblazers. The young guys, the combination of Jonathan Kuminga, Brandon Podziemski, who was incredible in this game. And then even though he may not have had a great first half, I think overall Trace Jackson-Davis had a solid game. You also got contributions off the bench from Moses Moody, who was a +6 in 17 minutes. And an overall good game and a much better game than he's played in recent weeks for Kevon Looney. I thought he was incredible tonight as well. Dario Saric continues to do what he does off the bench. And how about Chris Paul? I mean, the age-old, time-old veteran, 27 minutes, third straight game with 10 or more assists for Chris Paul, ends up a +9 off the bench as the Golden State Warriors rack up a season-high 38 assists tonight against Portland. Now, and this is where I would say 2 or 3 weeks ago, this is a type of game that I don't know if I can envision. And what I mean by that is this. The Warriors shot 30% from 30-point range. They made 10 threes. They committed 16 turnovers. I think 3 weeks ago, this is a game that they might beat Portland, but they do it in the fashion that they had beaten San Antonio, that they beat Portland earlier a couple of Thursdays ago, in which they're able to win by single digits. It kind of comes down to the wire, but they find a way to win, and we're looking at what kind of game this was. No, the Golden State Warriors did not shoot it objectively well tonight from 3 outside of Klay Thompson. You take away Klay's 6 threes, the Warriors as a team were 4 for 23 from downtown. But you look up and down at the passing numbers, the correction of the turnovers in the final 3 quarters, as many in the last 36 minutes as there were in the first 12. And you look at what the young guys continue to add to the older core, and you also look at the Golden State Warriors. This was a team in which I thought their passing was the best it's been, and it's obviously reflecting the amount of assists that they were able to gather up. But you look at the near 60% field goal shooting in the paint, and the Warriors just absolutely burrowed their way inside. They took advantage of a Portland team without much size, their lone center being pretty much DeAndre Ayton. But this is a team that you can get to the rim against, and I don't think the Warriors settled much tonight. They did hit some tough shots. They made a couple of mistakes, but at the end of the day, it didn't matter because they cruised in a game they should have won. And I wonder how people are feeling now about the perfect homestand, about where the Warriors are at 15-10, with a Christmas Day game coming up against the defending champs and the Denver Nuggets. I wonder where people are feeling, how they're feeling about this team. 888-957-9570 is the number. Evan Giddings with you on Warriors Wrap-Up here on 95.7 The Game. The Warriors 126 over Portland, who only scored 106 in this game. It was a second quarter type of affair for the Warriors, which they flipped the script. They set the tone. We're plus 18 in the second quarter. They outscored Portland in the third quarter, the Splash Brothers, to begin that half. And this is also where I think look, I know they didn't completely run away with the game in the third quarter. But in the last few second halves before Washington, we did see the Warriors, at times, they build some double-digit leads, right? And they go into the break up 11. Then we begin to see or had seen teams kind of make their pushes, especially out of the locker room. The Splash Brothers weren't having it tonight. The first 20 points of that quarter were scored by the Splash Brothers, including an incredible personal 11-0 run by Klay Thompson, in which he hit just a quintessential Klay Thompson three. He gets it on the right wing after I think he'd already hit 2 threes in a jump shot, and he just kind of hoists. It was a classic, well, you didn't really like the shot, but it's a Klay heat check. He throws it up there and gets the shooter's bounce right of the rim, off the glass, and in. And it was, I don't know if that was a great shot, but he made it. And it was a perfect cap to what had been a great Klay Thompson quarter, what has continued to be a great Klay Thompson stretch. Now, I believe he's scored 25 points, more than 20 points for sure, because he came in the last 5 averaging 20 on 42% shooting. But Klay Thompson, I believe, has scored 25 points or more in the last now 5 games. This new Golden State Warriors lineup, their starting lineup that is 5-1 since the game against Phoenix, in which Draymond Green was indefinitely suspended. I wonder how people are feeling about that and the way that this team looks. Also down Andrew Wiggins and Gary Payton II tonight. This is a Warriors team that does appear to be turning a corner, and I, for one, am extremely excited to see where they go from here because, while, yes, you beat Portland twice, you beat Brooklyn, they got the huge win on Tuesday against Boston, now you got some major challenges coming up successfully. You got playoff teams, your next 3. You got Denver. Then you got, I believe, the Miami Heat come to town. You get the Orlando Magic, who are the 4th seed right now. Then you get Denver again at home. So you got some big boys coming up in the schedule that I think with what the Warriors have done in their last 5, really in the last week, have proved to me that they are ready to take on those teams. And it looks like they're starting to build an identity. Again, this is the first perfect homestand of the season in which it's been 5 games or more. I know they won 5 successive road games at the beginning of the year, but they're beginning to look like a team that is coming together, and pieces are beginning to fit. Now, I know that Steve Kerr had some interesting comments before the game, was asked about just exactly what a lot of people are thinking about, right? How does someone like Draymond Green, or to a greater extent, Wiggins and Gary Payton II, how do those guys fit when you got 9 to 10 players right now that look like they found themselves? Jonathan Kuminga is looking like a player, now 9 straight double-digit games for Kuminga, 6 rebounds, 5 assists tonight. He looked calm, he looked cool, he looked collected. He's been defending at an immense level. He's been passing now. He's becoming more of a playmaker than just a guy that looks for his own shot, but he can go get it when he needs to. Brandon Podziemski, who's been in the starting lineup now, which the Warriors are 5-1, looks like a player that, again, Brandon Podziemski didn't shoot the ball well from 3 tonight, and I didn't notice it one iota because of everything else that he checked, because of the passing, because of the rebounding. By the way, 6 consecutive games, 5 or more rebounds for Brandon Podziemski, and a rookie that has not done that for the Warriors since 2001. I'm looking at the 15 points, majority of which at the cup, being poised with the basketball, not going too fast. He's a guy who the game slows down for. And for him to be doing that at age, 20, as a rookie in this league is incredibly impressive. I think the game's also been slowing down for Kuminga. Said it last night on Warriors Wrap-Up. I think Kuminga is finally starting to come into his own, and I'll take it a step further. He's taking the third-year leap that everyone had hoped that he could, in which players begin to find themselves, but begin to find where they fit with certain teams. And I do think that Draymond's suspension has opened a door for Kuminga, but I also think it's a door that he's forced his way open, and he's finally making the most of what he's been given. And I think that Steve Kerr is now beginning to trust him more than he ever has. And whether it's taken too long, it doesn't matter to me because it's happening at the time now in which the Warriors need it the most, which was 4 games under 500. And now they look at themselves and they are a game above 500. If you want to talk about Kuminga, if you want to talk about Podziemski, if you want to talk about the steadying nature of the Splash Brothers, again, 55 combined points tonight. If you want to talk about the perfect homestand, I want to hear from you at 888-957-9570. This is Warriors Wrap-Up. Let's get out to Bayview, where Jerry wants to chime in on a special Warriors rookie. What's up, Jerry? You're on with Evan on Warriors Wrap-Up. How you doing?
Hey, Evan. Thanks for taking my call. This rookie has really breathed some life into this team. You've got people taking charges. You've got Steph throwing up a hook shot. I'm blown away by this guy and his effect on the team. And he is an essential starter, as well as Kuminga. I mean, the vets need this youthful energy, and you would see it when you would take them off before this winning streak started, and the turnovers would pile up. It's just, I mean, we can't go backwards. I mean, Draymond, when he comes back, I love him, but he's going to have to work his way in. And I think, the traffic jam of players wanting minutes is real, but I just don't think we can go backwards. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. And I think that, look, the story of the night to me is the Splash Brothers, the young guys being supplemental pieces to another definitive victory. But you're absolutely right that, and I think it builds off of what Steve Kerr said before the game, which he was asked in his pregame. Look, it goes out about an hour 45 before, questions about the season. They're more kind of big picture stuff usually, along with what's going to be happening as far as starting lineup. But here's what Steve Kerr had to say pregame. We have more good players than rotation spots, which is a good problem to have, but not easy for the players themselves. And essentially referenced that the rotation right now is set. And I think we've seen that. And it's one of the reasons, to your point, Jerry, why the Warriors have won their last 5 games. But what happens when GP2, Andrew Wiggins, and maybe most importantly, Draymond Green return to the fold? That is what everyone wants the answer to. And I want to get to that in just a minute, but I do want to show some love to a guy who has been working extremely hard off the floor, and I thought had his best game, perhaps of the season, but certainly in a long time. And that is our hardest worker of the game, Kevon Looney. Brought to you by the Alameda County Sheriff's Office, who works hard to serve the community. Are you looking for a career in law enforcement? Learn more about job opportunities at joinacso.com. Evan Giddings with you on Warriors Wrap-Up. 888-957-9570 is the number. Shout out to everyone watching on YouTube and Twitch. People are chiming in about, kind of what we're talking about. I see a V. It's going to be hard to find minutes for Draymond and Wiggs. GP2, you can always slide him in when you need a stopper on a star player. Yeah, so this is kind of the way I break it down, because I think Kerr's right. They do have too many good players for the amount of rotation spots that realistically you're going to be playing in a regular season game, yes. But also, and I don't mind getting too far ahead of ourselves, because I think the Warriors are a playoff team. Who knows how far they can go? But if you're looking at a playoff rotation, that generally doesn't include, on an ideal night, more than 8 or 9 guys. So the Warriors rotation right now, let's just take the game tonight because it's been largely based on what they've done over the last week. You got your starting 5. You got Curry, Clay, Podziemski, Kuminga, Looney. Now, Looney played 22 minutes tonight, was a plus 15. He played more because I thought he played well. In fact, he, along with Podziemski, think about this, they both had 7 assists. That's the most assists from the starting lineup. Now, Chris Paul had 11 off the bench, but if I told you that Kevon Looney and Brandon Podziemski were going to be the leaders of the starting lineup in assists, I don't know if I would have taken that bet before the game. So it just goes to show how well they've been passing as a whole. And, of course, along with Looney, to me, I think Trace Jackson-Davis is forcing his way in. I was also glad to see that Kerr went back to Trace Jackson-Davis in the second half because he didn't play particularly well in the first half. I saw some people out there tweeting about how they didn't like the guys that were out there with him. No, I think TJD had his first tough stretch in, like a week? I mean, I don't think that's crazy. Guys are going to have down stretches. They're also going to be able to bounce back and have good stretches like TJD did in the second half. He was a -7 in the first half. He was a +6 in the second half. Ended up with 13 points and 5 rebounds, along with a steal, and finished the majority of his looks around the rim, which is what they need him to. Did go 1 of 4 at the free throw line, but that's something we can work on. So I was glad to see that TJD was given a second rope, and I thought he played well in his second half stint. It was the big big reason why the Warriors were able to roll in the second half. So to me, the rotation again, Clay, Curry, Kuminga, Looney, Podziemski. You're looking at the bench of CP3, Trace Jackson-Davis, Dario Saric, and then Moses Moody. To me, those are pretty much the 9. Now, I know Corey Joseph, Guy Santos, a couple of other guys got in. But those are your 9 for right now. And while Kerr has said that in the past, playing 10 is difficult to do, I think there needs to be some room. And this would be why. So GP2, Wiggins, and Draymond come back. I think Wiggins probably slides in a little bit easier just because he had been a part of the beginning of this win streak on the homestand, and he was playing 20 to 25 minutes tonight. Also had been playing less if he hadn't been playing well. But remember, Wiggins up on Sunday in Portland was a big reason why they won that game. Went 4 of 6 from downtown, had 26 points. He played well against the Trailblazers. Did not play very well against Boston. So he's going to be inconsistent, but he's going to get some minutes. So that'd be your 10th guy right now. I think that the odd man out at this point, which I hate to say because I think he was really good tonight and played well in the 17 minutes, would be Moses Moody. And that to me is where GP2 kind of fits in because I think you need GP2 against some, athletic teams. You need him on the perimeter. I think he can also play, a dunker spot position. And I'm curious to see how many minutes GP2 takes away from Podziemski because to me, that's the player that he's most akin to. I think Podziemski does more on the offensive side. I think GP2 is a slightly better defender. But then again, Pod's made a couple of great plays on defense, including, I forget who he stripped. It might have been Brogdon, but he had an Iguodala-like strip in the first half in which he just played with all instinct. And so I think he's beginning to make strides on the defensive side as well. The elephant in the room is Draymond Green, and I really wonder how he is going to fit back into this because I do think at the end of the day, he's got to play. I know there's been a lot of people saying, well, you got to trade Draymond, you got to move him. I don't think that's going to happen. And I think the bigger question is how does he reintegrate himself with this team? To me, he is going to be someone that's going to have to, because again, this is going to be like ideally 3 weeks out. Might be longer, but this isn't a question that they're going to have to answer for a few more weeks. So we're going to have more of a sample size to choose from. And I think that games on the next homestand for the next 7 against some better teams will give us more of an insight to that. But I think Draymond Green is going to have to work his way back. And what I mean by that is when he comes back, he might not start. And he's going to have to look himself in the mirror and see where he is going to help this team, whether it's as a rebounder, a defender, a passer. How is he going to fit with this group? Because this group is playing some damn good basketball right now. And I think he's smart enough to know that he doesn't want to wreck that. He wants to help that, or at least he should. And that's what I hope to see from Draymond when he comes back. I want to know what people feel about what Steve Kerr said before the game as far as his rotation, the amount of good players that they have, and where the Warriors are at a whole. At 888-957-9570. From the 510, where are all the Clay haters now who said trade Clay? Look, I was not among that group. Now, I didn't necessarily think that Clay was going to come out of this, this abyss that people were saying that he was in and just immediately light it up the way he has. But you knew that was in the cards, or at least I think you should have known that was in the cards. I mean, Klay Thompson didn't start the season very well last year, and then he had his best offensive months of his career in January and February. Like, that took some time. And the Warriors had a lot more problems last year. We don't have to rehash them. But Klay Thompson found his stride. He ended up leading the league in threes. He ended up scoring 20 points a game. And if he can do that again this year, I think that's going to be huge because this team has less offense, at least in a traditional sense of scores, than they did last year. But that's also a big reason why when I look at Kuminga and even Podziemski to some extent, I'm happy because I'm seeing scores that are finding kind of emerging scores is what I'm looking for. I think Kuminga is becoming an emerging scorer and a guy that doesn't necessarily need the ball to get buckets. And I think from watching the game, people can see that too. Like, he can get his own shot anytime he wants, but he's also playing within the rhythm of the offense and being able to get some putbacks, being able to get some taps at the rim, being able to take a guy off the dribble, to go around Scoot Henderson, seeing a rookie that he's got, keeps him on his hip, takes him left, finishes at the rack for an and one. Podziemski, he was 1 of 5 from three-point range tonight, but I thought he just knows how to use angles to slice his way to the cup. He's also good at, either cutting off of screens, finding open cutters. I think these guys are playing well together offensively, and the points, to me, what I've learned more than anything else so far is that the points are taking care of themselves during the 5-game win streak. How do you feel about it? at 888-957-9570. I want to step aside, come back. We're going to hear from Steve Kerr, who spoke after the game on the other side. Also got your extending the three-point line highlight, and then we're going to get you out of here after the Golden State Warriors win their 5th consecutive game. Perfect homestand for just the second time since the 2014-15 season of 5 games or more. They handled the Portland Trailblazers 126-106 at home. This is Warriors Wrap-Up with Evan Giddings. If you want to chime in, Comcast Business Text Line is open. YouTube, Twitch chat are open. And, of course, the phone lines are open at 888-957-9570. We're back after this on 95.7 The Game.
Tests are a necessary part of life. They evaluate our ability to handle the things life throws at us. Our floors go through tests, too. Pets, kids, spills, scratches, you name it, our floors deal with it. That's where life...
way, and Golden State takes a 14-point lead. Podziemski, two hands, and just hammered that bounce pass right to Jackson Davis.
Now back to Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game.
That was Tim Roy on the call, as he is always here on 95.7 The Game for your Golden State Warriors. And that was a hell of a pass by Brandon Podziemski. Up ahead, in transition, leak-out pass, over the head, bounce pass, threading the needle between two defenders to a streaking TJD. These rookies are playing like anything but rookie players. I'm talking about Brandon Podziemski and Trace Jackson Davis. Warriors win 126-106 against the Portland Trailblazers. This is Warriors Wrap-Up with Evan Giddings on 95.7 The Game. Shout out to the Comcast Business text line for the 407. Warriors are back and putting the rest of the league on notice. Well, I don't know about that just yet, but they certainly do have a chance to make another national impression on Christmas Day when they take on the Denver Nuggets in Denver. The defending champs, I think, are going to get the best ever from these Warriors because I would agree that they're playing their best basketball right now, and that goes even back to the 5-1, 6-2 start. They're playing more together than they did at that time, I believe, and it's resulting in finally back-to-back convincing victories in addition to their best win in the season against the Boston Celtics. Speaking of another convincing win on a back-to-back, clinching the 5 straight in a row at home, let's hear from the head coach of the Golden State Warriors, Steve Kerr, and what he thought about the convincing victory.
38 assists tonight. What does that say about sort of your depth and how you guys are moving the ball around and getting everyone involved?
Yeah, it was a beautiful offensive game after the early turnovers. You know, Portland is very aggressive defensively, and they got a lot of athletes. They bothered us early in the game with their pressure, and then once we got a little better organized and got more under control, we had some great possessions. Chris continues to just operate the team so smoothly, and a lot of guys are really playing at a high level, so fun to watch tonight.
Clay's been playing really well for a little while now. What have you specifically seen work for him? Is it a matter of shots just falling down, or has he been changing something?
Shot selection is the biggest thing with Clay. I think over the last 5 games, he's just taking better shots, and as a result, our team is more settled. We just feel like we're operating more efficiently. You know, he's coming off screens. If he's open, he's shooting it. If he's not, he's moving it. And when he does that, he's at his best, and we're at our best.
When you take into consideration, just as a follow-up, what he said about Clay, but then also Steph's always shooting well, but everybody seems to be playing well. And you said after the Celtics win that it seemed as if that win could push you guys and give you a boost heading into this season, or the rest of the season. And it seems like that has been the case. What's the feel? I'm always asking about the feel, but what's the feel? Because it seems like everybody feels pretty good right now.
Yeah, the vibe is good. We have a lot of leadership in the locker room. And I think, the guy I want to point out tonight is Kevon. The last 4 games or so haven't gone his way at all. Trace has played so well. So a lot of Loon's minutes have gone to Trace, and every single night, every day at practice, he's a rock. He's leading. He's been great on the bench, advising guys, giving advice during timeouts, cheering them on when they're playing well. I think, the true definition of a leader is someone who leads when things aren't going well for himself. And that's what makes Loon so special, is that's who he is. And then you just know that things are going to turn back around like they did tonight. He had 11 boards, 7 assists. I thought he was fantastic tonight, and that's who he's been his whole career. Just totally professional, kind of an old soul, a lot of wisdom, and steady as they come. So we're lucky to have Loon.
I would echo that sentiment. Kevon Looney, by the way, that was Steve Kerr, of course, after the Warriors beat the Portland Trailblazers by 20 tonight. But Kevon Looney, I think, has been a guy that has been lost because of what Trace Jackson Davis has done as of late. But he has not been playing great basketball, and tonight was perhaps his best game of the season. In 22 minutes, racked up 11 rebounds, the 6 offensive boards for a guy who last year was the leader as far as offensive rebounding rate in the NBA, and also was a great passer tonight. 7 assists for Kevon Looney. That was the second most on the team, along with Brandon Podziemski. So plus 15 in 22 minutes. Definitely a big shout-out. Big ups to Big Loon, because to Steve Kerr's credit, he has apparently been doing it off the floor, and I'm glad to see it kind of culminate in a nice performance here to cap off a perfect 5-game homestand. Let's get out to the calls now. We got Junior in Pacifica up next here on Warriors Wrap-Up. Again, 888-957-9570 is the number. But what's up, Junior? You're on with Evan here. What do you got?
Hey, Evan. Good stuff. I appreciate it. 2 comments, really. Some people are freaking out because Kerr said that he recognized talent in the youngsters during training camp. But anyone who's managed anything, even a kindergarten or a family, knows that once a vet or someone experienced achieves something, you got to give them some run, and you got to give them, first choice, and someone has to knock them off their pedestal. That's why, like, Draymond Green did not get a run until the guy in front of him got injured. So it's just how things are. And, let's not freak out. The Warriors have done so much for us as fans. Let's give them a little room to run. And the funny thing is, I wonder if I'm the first one to say this, we seem to have stumbled onto a 2.5 generation timeline, not a 2 timeline plan, but a 2.5. So right now, at just a snapshot, we've got Steph and Clay and youngsters running around doing amazing things. And it's some of the, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players who look like they might be in danger of Draymond being the poster guy for this, of losing their default, starting positions. And it's just fascinating. Everyone says our goal this year is a championship, and I get it. Of course, that's the goal. But sports just entertain us, and man, there cannot be much more entertaining than what we're seeing right now. I'm not saying the Warriors are back, and they are not making the NBA tremble at this point. The Niners are making the NFL tremble this year, but the Warriors are just making themselves interesting, maybe in contention, and it's wonderful to see. What a bunch of stories, and I'm enjoying the heck out of it. It sounds like you are too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. How can you not be? The Warriors they've always been interesting. Even when they were going through their 4-12 stretch in 16 games, they've been interesting. But we're seeing that interest turn into positivity, and that's what's been so cool to see in the last week. Again, it's only been 7 days, but starting with Brooklyn, then to Portland, then to Boston, Washington last night, and in Portland again, the Warriors appear to be turning a corner. I'm not ready to put them in championship contention either, but they look like they're beginning to turn a corner. He also said something interesting that I think has gone through a lot of people's minds about the, kind of full circle potential reality that we're beginning to see, which is when Draymond Green got an opportunity to start in the 2014-15 season, it was because of an injury. David Lee missed the beginning of that year, and Draymond Green flourished. He blossomed. It was a big reason why the Warriors started 20-2 that year. There's still a long way to go, and there's going to be a long time before we see Draymond Green again because of his indefinite suspension. But I do think we're beginning to see the accelerated ascendance of someone like Jonathan Kuminga, and to maybe a lesser extent Brandon Podziemski, who are getting opportunities in the starting lineup because of the absence of Draymond, tonight the absence of Wiggins, and then, of course, the injury to Gary Payton II. But these guys are making the most of their opportunity the way that Draymond made the most of his back in 2014-15. I'm not saying that Kuminga is going to step in and automatically make the Warriors title contenders and that he's going to go on to be a future Hall of Famer like Draymond Green did, but it sure would be something interesting to see that come full circle. And I am getting to the point now, I still got to see more. There's 5 games coming up that I think are going to tell us just how good this starting lineup can be together. They're 5-1 since they've been put on the floor. But the next week or so, I think, is going to give us a better insight as to whether or not that reality that you were touching on, Junior, could potentially come to fruition. Let's go to Mark in Millbrae. What's up, Mark? You're on Warriors Wrap Up with Evan. How you doing?
Yeah, what's up? Coming from the game, really impressed right now. Glad to see Clay. Looks like he's found his form. I hope that continues here going throughout the season, and it's just not a great stretch of ball he's playing right now. But it's great to see him breaking out. Curry obviously playing out of his mind all season, basically carrying this team through this rut they've been in. And as you mentioned, this young core really impressive. Podziemski really showing he's gonna be a player. Hopefully, this is not a stretch where they hit the wall soon here. But these young guys really showing out. And Trace Jackson-Davis has been the surprise of the season so far. I'm just really impressed by what he's doing. I'm glad to see that Looney. Well, we know this about Looney since he's been here. He's an ultimate professional. He's not going to complain or pout. He'll do whatever the team needs. So that means if it's a reduced role coming off the bench, he'll gladly do it. And he's showing that Trace Jackson-Davis right now, it's his time to shine, and deservedly so, because that guy is really just showing out, and he's making Kerr have to play him. So it's a matter of not being forced to because of the inconsistencies of Wiggins and Draymond being out and injuries. He's earned his spot there to be relied upon in the rotation there. And, once you got Curry's trust, then you're going to be getting big-time minutes.
Yeah. And
it's really shown here in this win streak. But now you got a tough stretch of games here, and we're going to see what the Warriors are made of. They came back showing out from lifeless, but now tough stretch of games here. We're going to see starting with the world champs on Christmas Day. I want to see these guys go. I know Denver's a tough place to play, but if they can go 500 through this stretch, I really do think they're out because they found their form. I think the key for the Warriors is now dominating at home and trying to be somewhat near around 500 on the road.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate that. Look, I think some good stuff there. And I think we're all at the point where the Warriors are back into the limelight for all the right reasons, right? They have been in the news recently for things that don't simply concern basketball, the things that have been off the court, and they're getting back to what they have done best during this dynasty, which is play at a consistently high level, have great consummate professional leadership like you're talking about with Looney, and playing winning basketball. That's what we want to see. Let's get to our extended three-point line.
Thompson guarded by Grant. Whoa. Shoots right over the top of him. Bounces up and bounces in. It hit the rim, bounced high in the air, and then bounced in a three ball for Clay. Little hometown discount there. He's got a 10-point quarter already.
That's a great call from Tim Roy here on 95.7 The Game. That is your extending the three-point line, brought to you by West Coast Men's Health, successfully treating men for ED and chronic pain. Visit westcoastmenhealth.com. Let's quickly sneak Dog Trainer in here on Warriors Wrap-Up before we wrap this thing up here on 95.7 The Game. What's up, Dog Trainer? How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. I'm really happy for the Warriors, and one of the guys I'm most happy for is Steve Kerr. He's a really classy guy. He doesn't throw his guys under the bus. He doesn't make excuses. He takes responsibility for his own coaching situations that he has to be responsible for at times. But one of the things I think is really simple, and I think it's really good, taking kids to the games and young people, their impressions, especially during this time of year, the family and whatnot, and the ticket prices, they're always going up. It's good to see the unity. It's good to see the different facial expressions on the bench and on the floor with Golden State. But the one thing that I think is really, really a cool thing is it's very clear now that when there's no distractions and when they take the talent that they can train and focus, I mean, just like a dog, you got to start a dog out without too many distractions. Once you get it trained to a certain point, once you get it focused on you, the trainer or the owner, either way, you can bring in more distractions and the dog can still obey and perform. Same with people. These are players that have different types of unique skills. For them to bring that to the court consistently, it's difficult to do that with distractions. And I hope that they do get Draymond back, and I hope when they bring him back, I hope they don't throw him a lot of minutes. Right? I hope they make him earn his way back on the court, because there needs to be respect shown to these players. The same high level of respect that Kerr and the Warriors gave Draymond, they need to expect Draymond to give back to them, because they're winning without him, and we hope this keeps rolling. But obviously, when they don't have distractions, you can see how they come together, and I think it's really nice to see that. And I'm praying for Draymond, and I hope he comes back, and I hope everything works out. I believe it will. But, that's just my perception.
Well, I appreciate the Dog Trainer. I think that's a great place to leave us for this night, because this is a great night for the Warriors. And they're not done yet. They got a lot of They got a long time to go. They got a lot of season left, right? But 126-106 over the Portland Trailblazers is a great place to leave us right before the Christmas holiday. And I think a great place to leave everyone before you're off for work next week. Maybe you're hitting the road. You're going back to see some family. Maybe you got family in town. You got people huddled around the fire. You're around loved ones. And I think it's really great that at this specific time of the year, the Golden State Warriors are giving us some heartwarming with their play. And they did it in the last 7 days. A week ago, they were 10-14. We thought this thing was spiraling out of control. And they have righted the ship with 5 successive victories, all of which have been, in their own way, quality, positive. And, of course, you get the big win against Boston, following it up with back-to-back wins last night and then tonight against Portland. This is where I'll leave everyone here on Warriors Wrap-Up. But I appreciate you chiming in on YouTube. I appreciate our Comcast Business text line, all the callers tonight, as we do always here on 95.7. The game is this. I am so excited for Christmas Day. Not just because I'm going to get some presents, but not because I'm going to give some presents, but because the Golden State Warriors have proved to us that with the way that this new-look team is playing, that they deserve to go into Denver and have a chance. I don't know if we could say that a week ago. I wasn't necessarily looking to Christmas Day a week ago. But after the 5 successive wins here at home, a perfect homestand for the second time since 2014-15, the Golden State Warriors, I do believe, can go into Denver and win. Whether they will, whether they won't, doesn't really matter, because they have righted this ship to the point where now they're a game above 500. They put a lot of the extracurricular storylines on the back burner. Even though they were brought up pregame tonight, those are still weeks away as far as Draymond, GP2, even Andrew Wiggins to some extent, who's been unavailable the last 2 nights. The Golden State Warriors, because of the Splash Brothers consistency, because of the young players' emergence, and because of the consummate leadership and professionalism in their middle-aged guys, and specifically embodied by Kevon Looney, have righted the ship now to a point where it looks like they can turn a corner. And that's why I can't wait to see how they measure up against the defending champs on Christmas Day and where this season is going to go when they come back home for the next 7. Longest home game of the year coming up next week as the Warriors get themselves set for a Christmas Day affair with the Denver Nuggets. That's going to be 11:30 a.m. on ABC. You can, of course, catch the action right here on 95.7 The Game. And also make sure to tune in after that because we got your Niners coverage. The red and gold pregame, our kickoff show with Larry Krueger and Lorenzo Neal will be 2 hours before the 5:15 kickoff down at Levi's Stadium. Monday Night Football between Brock Purdy and Lamar Jackson. Battle of the Titans. AFC, NFC, 11-3. Can't wait for that. Our guy Sterling Bennett, who's been running every single Warriors game for us here as our network coordinator, is going to have post-game for the Warriors. He's going to have post-game for the Niners. And I know we're going to have a lot of great coverage come up for you on Christmas Day on Monday before, of course, we get back to things into the rhythm from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Tuesday. So I appreciate you tuning into this edition of Warriors Wrap-Up. Again, a big thank you to Sterling Bennett, our entire production staff here at 95.7 The Game. My name is Evan Giddings, saying so long after the Golden State Warriors win their 5th in a row. They're back above 500 for the first time since November 13th as they defeat the Portland Trailblazers. Final score 126-106. Have a happy holidays, a Merry Christmas to however you celebrate. We appreciate you tuning in. Much love. We'll talk to you next time.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared.